In the previous video, we looked at something like y equals x squared plus, let's say, 7. Okay, so in order for you to draw this line here, you would visualize your y equals x squared, which would look something like this. Okay, so this is your y equals x squared. Now, because you're trying to draw this line here, y equals x squared plus 7, well, it would be this same curve, but then it gets shifted up by 7. So your new line would look something like this. It was here, but then it gets shifted up here. So this is your y equals x squared, which is the same curve as this one here. But then because you're adding 7, you just shifted up 7. Okay. Now in this video, we're going to investigate why y equals y equals x squared will look something like this. Let's say it's this here. Now what would happen if you stick a number in front of x squared? Let's say 3. How does this new graph how does it relate to the old graph? So this here is your y equals x squared. What will y equals 3x squared? What would that look like, and how does that relate to this y? Well, it turns out that this 3x squared is actually, it just makes it steeper, so something like this. Okay, it makes it it just makes it steeper. Well, anyway, let's try and see why that's the case. Okay, so this middle line here represents our y equals x squared. Okay, we are trying to create some points for y equals 3x squared. So normally x squared is 0 here. So we just got to times it by 3 here. So 0 times 3 would be 0. Now x squared, it was 1 here, but we got to times it by 3 here. So times by 3. So here it was 4. X squared was 4, and now we've got to times it by 3. So it would be 12. The new point will be 12. So here, well, you could go on here. Okay. Now x squared in the negative realm, x squared, it was 1, but now we're going to times it by 3 because we are investigating y equals 3x squared. Well, x squared was 1 here, but because we are investigating 3x squared, we've got to times it by 3. So this would be 3. Well, it was 4, but now we're going to times it by 3. So the new point will be 12, and so on. You can go on here. Now it's just a matter of plotting these points here. So here, when x is 0, y would be 0. So it would be here. A new curve would be here. When x equals 1, a new point will be at 3. So a new point will be here. Okay. When x is 2, our old point was 4. Our old point was here, but our new point here would be 12. So it gets shifted up to 12 here. Okay. So this curve here is y equals x squared. We are trying to find out what y equals 3x squared. What would this curve here look? What will it look like? So it was 1, but then now the new curve will be 3. It was 4. The new curve will be 12. Okay, and look at this here. When x equals minus 1, the old value was 1, but the new value will be 3. So here when x equals minus 1, okay, the old value was 1, but now it's going to get shifted up to 3. Okay. And now, when x is minus 2, the old value was 4. The new value would be 12. So when x equals minus 2, the old value was 4, but now it's going to get shifted up to 12. So the new one would be here. So somehow you just got to draw a curve through these points. Remember, the origin stays the same because look, when x is 0. The old value was 0, but the new one is also 0. So it stays the same. So in effect, what you're doing is you're stretching the graph upwards. So hang on. So this bottom part stays the same, but everything gets shifted. Well, gets stretched upwards. So your new graph will look something like this. hang on, it's hard to draw a graph, so it's hard to draw a curve, sorry. So your new graph will look something like this. See, so this is your let me zoom out. This here was your old curve, and then your new one would be steeper. Hang on, it's hard for you to see. Let's clear this. So hang on, let me try and show you this here. So this here was your x squared. Okay, this is your x squared curve. Hang on. So when you so hang on. So this here is y equals x squared. Now if you do this, y equals 3x squared, what you're doing is you're keeping this base the same, but then you're stretching everything else upwards. Okay, I'm going to try and illustrate that on here. Hang on. So this here, this is your x squared. Okay, let me make a copy of this. Hang on, and then. Okay, so this here was your y equals x squared. I'm going to zoom out so that hopefully you can see. It's hard to illustrate this, so bear with me. So this is your x squared. Okay, your new graph will look something like this. So the base stays the same, but then it gets stretched up like this. So hang on. Let me try and illustrate this. Hang on. Well, hang on. So it was here. Your hang on, I'm going to zoom in. Bear with me on this. So it was 1 here, and then 1, and then it will move up to here. Later, this point here will move up to 12. Okay, and this point here, it was 1, is going to move up to 3, and this point here, it was 4, it's going to move up to 12. So let me try and stretch it so it fits in there. So right there, bear with me. It's quite hard to illustrate this. So here, okay. So this is your normal y equals x squared. Okay. Now I'm going to stretch it. So we are trying to investigate y equals 3x squared. So in effect, I'm going to stretch this, but I am going to keep the base the same. Okay. So hang on. So hopefully I can illustrate this. Oh, I can't. Well, it's going to be something like that. Well, it's hard for me to illustrate this. Sorry. Well, hang on. Let me have one more go. So this is your graph here. Hang on. So here I'm going to try and stretch this. I'm going to zoom out first so you can see the whole thing. Okay, bear with me. So this one here, it was your old. This is your y equals x squared. Okay, I'm going to stretch this. So I'm going to stretch it. So here, hang on. So your new curve will look something like this. It has something like this. Okay, okay. Now, see, I'm going to zoom back in. Hang on. And then this here is your new curve. You see, it was your x squared was somewhere down. Well, anyway, the base stays the same, and then everything else gets stretched upwards. So hang on, let me show you this here. So this here, it's really hard to illustrate. So y equals x squared will look something like this. Will look something like that. Okay, now y. Well, if you want to do y equals x to the power of 3x squared, it will look something like this. It just makes it steeper, that's all. Let me do it again. Y equals x squared will look something like this. Oh, y equals x squared will look something like this. Okay. So this is your y equals x squared. Now, if you want to know what y equals, let's say 3x squared, it will look something like this. It will just make it steeper. If you have y equals 7x squared, it will be even steeper, like that. Okay? Yeah. Okay. So the coefficient of x squared, it just makes it steeper. That's all. Okay? It just makes it steeper.